I've been married to my husband, James, for 8 years. We've been together for a decade, and over these years, his daughter from a previous marriage, Gabby, has become like a daughter to me. We've built what I thought was a strong family, especially given our shared history and James's amicable relationship with Gabby's biological mother, Linda, who's always lived overseas for work. We've all worked hard to make sure Gabby has two loving homes. But recently, everything I thought I knew about our family has come crashing down. Gabby's 18th birthday was last week, and she'd been hinting for months that she wanted a car. We knew she was hoping for one. She was set to leave for college soon, already had her license, and had practiced driving with our family car. In an ideal world, we'd have been able to buy her one. But money has been tight because of James's new business, and as supportive as he is, he's still in the startup phase, so finances are limited. James and I had spoken with Linda about the car situation. Linda wasn't keen on the idea of Gabby having a car just yet either. Gabby had been attending parties where underage drinking was rumored to happen, and we feared that a car would only encourage reckless behavior. Linda, ever the protective mother, worried that Gabby might drive under the influence, so she firmly vetoed the idea. Instead, James and I went all out for her birthday party, hoping that a memorable celebration would make up for the lack of a car. We rented a beautiful venue, invited all her friends, hired a live band, and even arranged for a special dinner. The whole event was lavish and costly, but we didn't mind because we wanted Gabby to feel loved. Linda even bought her the latest AirPods, while James and I saved up to give her a new iPhone. We thought it was a thoughtful gift, and I was sure she'd be thrilled. But when the time came for her to open her gift, things took a turn. As she unwrapped the iPhone, expecting car keys inside, I saw her face change. She tossed the phone aside in front of everyone, making it clear she wasn't pleased. Then she launched into a tantrum, accusing us of not caring about her and of treating her like a child. She called us cheap and shouted that all her friends had cars and she didn't understand why her parents couldn't do this one thing for her. I felt my cheeks flush with embarrassment, knowing her friends and our family were watching. James looked shocked, but before he could speak, I stepped in, hoping to defuse the situation. Gabby, we know you wanted a car, but this isn't the way to. Before I could finish, she turned on me. She shouted that she didn't want to talk to me, that I wasn't even her real mom, and called me a deadbeat loser. I was so stunned I couldn't even respond. Her meltdown continued, and soon she stomped out of the venue, leaving us humiliated in front of our guests. The evening was effectively ruined. We had to send our guests home, apologizing profusely for what had happened. After everyone left, James and I went home, hoping Gabby had returned to cool off, but she wasn't there. Hours went by without any word from her, and James began to worry. Finally, we got a text saying she was staying at a friend's house and to stop bothering her. Exhausted, James and I talked long into the night about what had happened. We were both hurt by her behavior, and we knew something needed to change. Early the next morning, we called Linda to discuss the situation. She was as shocked as we were and agreed that Gabby had crossed a line. Together, we decided it was time for Gabby to face real consequences. After a long discussion, we agreed that Gabby would need to learn the value of respect and gratitude. That morning, James and I packed up Gabby's belongings, placed them in boxes on the lawn, and texted her to come get them. Linda followed up with an email explaining that she was pulling Gabby's college fund. She'd have to work her way through school or take out loans. It was a painful decision, but one we felt was necessary to help her understand the gravity of her actions. When Gabby returned home and saw her things on the lawn, her reaction was explosive. She screamed, cried, and called us every name in the book. She threatened to report us to her mother, convinced Linda would side with her. But when she read the email, her demeanor changed. She began to cry uncontrollably, and I felt a pang of sympathy, but I held firm. James and I knew this was for her own good. A few minutes later, a pickup truck arrived, driven by a young man I didn't recognize. He helped Gabby load her things, and they drove off. We had no idea where she was going or who he was, but it seemed like she was gone for good. Days passed with no word from Gabby. Although she was active on social media, she hadn't contacted us. As the days turned into weeks, Linda, James, and I started to worry. Had we made a mistake? Had we been too harsh? My mind raced with questions, but my resolve remained firm. Finally, about a week and a half after the party, Gabby responded to one of our texts. She said she was staying with her boyfriend, someone she had been dating for a few months, but hadn't mentioned to us. She explained that they were in love and had plans to get married by the end of the year. According to her, her boyfriend, Todd, was 22, a college dropout, and had been finding himself while living off his parents' money. Gabby told us that she wanted to travel with him and build a life as an influencer couple, sharing their adventures with the world. She even said she wanted to skip college to support his dream, stating that they'd become famous travelers. My heart sank. This wasn't the Gabby I knew. She had always been headstrong, but this sounded like a total abandonment of her values and upbringing. We arranged to meet Gabby and her boyfriend in person, hoping to talk some sense into her. When we arrived at their apartment, the place was a mess. Todd was clearly high, and there were signs of his recreational habits everywhere. We tried to reason with Gabby, urging her to reconsider her plans, but she was adamant. She was convinced Todd was her future and told us to get used to it. James, unable to hold back his frustration, tried to convince her to come home, but Gabby grew defensive. Todd, annoyed by our presence, suggested we leave. I knew if we stayed longer, things would only escalate, so I reluctantly convinced James to leave. Gabby's final decision. A few days later, Gabby unblocked us and reached out again. She explained that she appreciated our concern, but insisted she was an adult now. She felt capable of making her own decisions and said she didn't need us to approve of her life choices. She told us that we could be part of her life, but only if we accepted her choices without judgment. It was hard to hear, but I knew we'd done everything we could. Gabby was an adult now, and as painful as it was, we had to let her learn her own lessons. Now, as I sit here and reflect on everything that has happened, I feel a deep sadness mixed with hope. We've done our best to raise Gabby with respect, love, and values, and while it's painful to see her make these choices, I know she needs the freedom to find her way. Sometimes, the hardest part of parenting is letting go. Our door remains open for her if she ever wants to return, and though we may not support her decisions, we'll always support her as our daughter. We can only hope that, in time, she will understand the love and sacrifice that went into every decision we made.